Hello and welcome back to the weaving studio. Come along with me as I dress the loom for a new project. So right now I am just removing all of the heddle frames so that I can readjust the heddles, put new ones on, take some off from the last project. Now I am going to go ahead and load the warp onto the back beam and place my leaf sticks in. I typically do about 300 ends per bundle, depending, of course, on the size of my project. This one just so happened to be exactly 600 ends, so that worked out quite conveniently, actually. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove my ties. I don't do a lot of ties. I used to tie things up like crazy and it was a lot of ties, but now I just do one around the cross and a couple at the very ends, and then I just braid it up, do like a little crochet, hand crochet braid kind of thing. And now we are going to place the bundles in the rattle. I'm doing 20 ends per inch, so I am doing 10 threads per rattle section. I found this very interesting. Most people put their rattles on the back, but my rattle is actually designed to go in the front in the beater bar. My loom is a Maycomber at a harness loom, and it was built in 1969. It actually took me quite a while to find somebody that actually does put their rattle in the front in order for me to kind of, I don't know why, I just could not envision how that worked. But I've got it figured out now, and I'm an old hand at it. I don't like the fact that I have to bend over quite so much, but it works, and I can sit because I have really bad feet, so sitting is always better for me. As long as I, take a break every now and again, get up, stretch my back, that kind of thing, it doesn't seem to be a problem for my back. And so I did that first section, and then I'm going to go ahead and, as you can see, I just tied some yarn around the ends, or the rattle pegs there, so that I don't accidentally lose them off the rattle while I'm working on the second section. And this doesn't take very long, so I am just going to let it go until it gets to the end. Okay, so I've got everything loaded into the rattle, and as you can see, I just put the beater bar top in place to hold the threads in. And then I will go to the back of the loom here and just make some adjustments to where the threads are in relation to the zip ties that are holding my back apron bar on, so that things are all straightened out. And I try not to use too many zip ties, so if I don't have to cut them off and put them back on, then I don't. So that is why I do it that way, and it works really well. I've never dropped any threads or anything, so I just keep doing it that way until I run into a problem, and then I find a new way to do things. This is me fussing. I fuss a lot over my back apron bar. Okay, now we are going to wind up. So here we are. I use weights. I just straighten the threads out to a certain length, and I tie the weights on, and then I roll that up. This actually took me about an hour. I have sped this up by about 50, and I cut out a good section of the center of it, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. Yes, I am using a comb. Don't judge. The thread that I'm using here is a very heavyweight cotton, so I am not at all afraid that I'm going to snap a thread. Using the comb, obviously, depending on the thread that I'm using for the loom for that project, I don't always use the comb, but this stuff is particularly sticky and kind of tangly, and it's very annoying. And I mean, I love weaving with it, but getting it on the loom can sometimes be a little bit tricky. So that's why I use the comb, and only on this particular yarn, which is totally fine. I've never broken a thread or anything using the comb on this. I know a lot of people are like, no, don't use a comb. Oh my goodness, that's so bad. But like I said, never had a problem. All right, so now I am going to go ahead and fix up all of my harnesses with the right amount of heddles. My previous project was just a 4-shaft project, but I still had 600 heddles. So I had a lot more heddles per frame. So I need to go ahead and remove some from the first 4 and then add them on to the last 4. So that is what we are going to be doing now. So I just want to point out very quickly, I am using the tip of a yarn needle to do my counting. I have tried all kinds of different things to make it easier using my fingers. I keep pretty short fingernails, so that doesn't work very good. And just, just randomly using nothing at all. But I find that the needle to work really well. And because I also use that same needle to tie up my extra heddles. So if you'll watch this part of the video here, I have all of those extra heddles that I need to take off the frame. So I have the bundle there that I'm sticking on. I usually do bundles of about 50 heddles, and then I tie them together with just some scrap yarn. And so I just go through the top and bottom of each heddle and I just kind of squish them together and tie them up, and it works really, really well. I've had no problems whatsoever with dropping like one end of the heddle or the other, and I can keep them very well organized. I found these plastic, I think they're makeup brush containers, I'm not really sure, but they fit my heddles perfectly. 250 bundles side by side, and it helps me keep everything very well organized. And yeah, so this is, I'm on, oh, that's frame 9. So I've got frame 9 and 10, and they are just going to be for um, doing, I'm doing a little bit of plain weave on each edge of my project. So that is what frames 9 and 10 are going to do. So I don't need many heddles. I only need enough for each edge of my weaving project. And I do that instead of a floating salvage. And the reason that I do that instead of a floating salvage is, honestly, I get way better edges that way. And that just what works for me. I'm not saying it's bad or good or whatever. It's just what works for me. So right now I am putting the frames back on, and you'll notice that I put those big dowels in there. And that is to lift the frames up as I'm threading. If I didn't do that, the frames would be really far down, and it's a lot of reaching. So I put those 2 dowels in there to hold the frames up as I'm threading. All right, here we are doing the treadle tie up. I am doing a draft from handweaving.net. It is draft number 3563. It is a lovely little crosshatch pattern, and the treadling is super simple. It's just 1 through 8 over and over and over again. It's the tie up that gets you the really cool pattern, and that is what I did for, I'm actually going to be doing 3 different tie-ups, and they all have the same treadling, which I think is just awesome. As you can see here, I don't use the hooks that came with the treadle or came with the loom anymore. I actually have a video that you can watch, and I will link that up here if you are interested in how I switched over from the hooks to the Texolve. I found the hooks to be extremely difficult to use. So anyway, so here we are. I'm just going to be doing my threading. You can see there at the very beginning I did my plain weave, which is just 5 threads of 9, 10, 9, 10, 9. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and thread across. I'll pop on some lovely music, or you can fast forward if you'd like. All right, we've made it to the end, and if you have made it to the end, don't forget to like and subscribe. My next video will be how I tie onto the front apron bar. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.